The PCE price index, as you know, has become this favorite gauge of inflation.
The Fed's preferred measure is PCE.
That is the Fed's favorite inflation gauge.
Yes, there's more than one way to measure inflation, and the better-known consumer price index is not the Fed's favorite one. So when Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says,
"My colleagues and I are strongly committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal,"
he means personal consumption expenditures, which is running roughly 2 points lower than the consumer price index this year. So what's the difference between PCE and CPI? Let's get this straight. CPI is calculated surveying households. PCE data comes from surveying suppliers.
They're both basically trying to measure the same thing. They take a basket of goods and services, which is supposed to represent what the typical American household spends their money on, and measures how much the price of buying that basket has gone up relative to the same month a year ago.
But those baskets look a little different. For one, CPI looks at health costs directly drawing from Americans' wallets, while PCE includes the cost of healthcare incurred by government programs as well as private insurers. That difference is evident in the weight of items in each basket. Medical care is a much bigger part of the pie in PCE, while CPI places enormous weight on housing.
The fact that rents are growing more rapidly than underlying inflation as a whole, that's driving this unusual difference at the moment.
Along with this, PCE captures real-world buying behavior by frequently adjusting the weights in its basket.
Now, when the price of, say, gasoline goes up or the price of meat goes up, what tends to happen is that consumers, households will spend less on those products and more on cheaper products. So the weight of, say, beef would go down if beef gets more expensive.
But CPI only updates every 2 years, so beef might carry more weight than it should, leading to a higher overall inflation rate.
We've long used PCE because we think it's just better at capturing the inflation that people actually face in their lives.
So why is CPI synonymous with inflation when PCE is more comprehensive?
I think first mover advantage is a very big deal for the CPI. The fact that number comes out first, means it gets most of the attention, and the PCE sort of follows up.
But with the current stark gap between the two, the Fed can't ignore what CPI says on its path to 2%.
If PCE is 2 and the CPI is 2.5, they'd be quite okay with that, because that's the historical wedge between the two. But if it stays at 3 to 4, I think they'll be thinking, well, there's an element of the inflation process here that has not come back, and we need to be cautious about loosening policy too much.